In Chinese funeral traditions, death is not the end. It is merely a transition from one world to another. And just as the living need food, shelter, and companionship, so too do the dead. This is why Chinese families burn paper offerings at funerals. Joss paper folded into gold ingots represents money. Paper houses provide shelter. Paper cars offer transportation. Paper servants ensure the deceased will be attended to in the afterlife. These offerings are not merely symbolic. According to tradition, they transform into real objects when burned, crossing the veil between worlds to serve the dead. But there are rules that govern this practice, rules that must be followed, rules that, if broken, can have terrible consequences. Wei Jing learned this the hard way. Wei Jing was 22 years old when her grandmother died. She had always been close to the old woman, visiting her every weekend, listening to her stories about the old days before the revolution. Her grandmother, Liu Fang, was 93 years old. She had lived a long life, raised 5 children, survived war and famine and upheaval. But in her final years, she had grown lonely. "I wish I had a granddaughter to keep me company," she would say to Wei Jing. "Someone to take care of me, someone who would stay." Wei Jing always felt guilty when she heard this. She loved her grandmother, but she had her own life, her own job, her own apartment in the city. She could not stay. When her grandmother finally passed, peacefully in her sleep, the family gathered for the funeral. It was a traditional ceremony. Monks chanted sutras. Incense burned before the altar. White flowers covered the coffin, and paper offerings were prepared to be burned at the graveside. Wei Jing's mother had ordered the offerings from a specialty shop. Paper money in the millions, a paper mansion with paper furniture, a paper car, paper clothes in the latest styles, and a paper servant. The paper servant was life-sized, nearly 5 feet tall. It was made of bamboo frames covered in white tissue paper, carefully painted to resemble a young woman. She wore a traditional qipao dress, blue with white flowers. Her hair was black, arranged in an old-fashioned style. Her face was delicate, with red lips and dark eyes, too dark. Wei Jing thought when she first saw it, the eyes seemed too real, too aware. They followed her as she walked past. "Don't be foolish," her mother said when Wei Jing mentioned it. "It's just paper and paint." The craftsman was skilled, that's all. But Wei Jing could not shake the feeling that something was watching her at the graveside. The family burned the offerings one by one. The paper money went first, the flames consuming it in seconds. Then the house, the car, the clothes, finally. They brought out the paper servant. As they positioned it over the fire pit, Wei Jing made a mistake. She looked directly into its painted eyes. For just a moment, she could have sworn she saw something flicker there. Recognition, awareness, a spark of something that should not exist in paper and paint. And then the flames rose up and consumed it as the paper servant burned. Wei Jing heard something, a sound beneath the crackling of flames, a whisper, so faint she almost missed it. "I will serve." The words sent a chill down her spine. She told herself it was just the fire, just the wind, just her imagination playing tricks on her in a moment of grief. She was wrong. That night, Wei Jing returned to her apartment in the city. She was exhausted from the funeral, emotionally drained. She fell asleep the moment her head touched the pillow. She woke at 3 in the morning. The room was cold, much colder than it should have been. Her breath misted in the air, and there was a sound, a soft rustling, like paper in the wind. Wei Jing reached for the lamp on her nightstand. Her fingers found the switch. Light flooded the room. Nothing. The room was empty. The windows were closed. The door was locked. But on the floor, in the corner near the window, was a small pile of ash. Wei Jing got out of bed and approached it slowly. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. The ash was arranged in a pattern. It took her a moment to recognize what she was seeing. Footprints, small footprints, the size of a woman's feet. They led from the window to her bedside, and back again. Wei Jing did not sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, she convinced herself it was nothing. ash from somewhere, dirt that looked like footprints. Her grief was making her see things that were not there. But when she went to make her bed, she found something under her pillow, a piece of paper, burned at the edges, charred and fragile. It crumbled slightly as she picked it up. On it, written in what looked like ash, were 2 Chinese characters. "I am here." Wei Jing dropped the paper. Her hands were trembling so badly she could barely dial her phone. She called her mother and told her everything. The eyes that followed her, the whisper in the flames, the footprints, the note. Her mother was silent for a long moment. "You looked at the paper servant," she finally said. "Didn't you? You looked into its eyes." Yes, but just for a second." "Oh, Jing, do you not remember what grandmother always said? Never look a paper figure in the eye. It creates a connection, a bond. The servant thinks you are its master now. What does that mean? It means the paper servant has attached itself to you. It has crossed over. But instead of serving your grandmother in the afterlife, it believes it is meant to serve you. How do I make it stop?" Her mother's voice was heavy with worry. "I don't know. These things are not meant to stay in our world. They are meant to burn and pass on. If one stays behind, if one attaches to the living." She did not finish the sentence. Over the following weeks, the haunting intensified. Wei Jing would wait to find objects moved in her apartment. Her shoes arranged neatly by the door when she knew she had left them scattered. Her dishes washed when she had left them in the sink. Her clothes folded when she had thrown them on a chair. The paper servant was taking care of her, just as it was made to do. But it wanted more. The whispers grew louder. At first, Wei Jing could only hear them at night. Then during the day. Then constantly, a soft murmur at the edge of her hearing. "Let me serve you. Let me take care of you. Come with me. Grandmother is waiting. She misses you. She wants you to stay with her forever." Wei Jing began to see things. A figure in the corner of her vision, gone when she turned to look. A woman in blue standing at the foot of her bed, vanishing when she blinked. A face in the window, paper white, with eyes like pools of black ink. She went to a temple. A monk performed a cleansing ritual, burning incense and chanting prayers. It did not help. She went to a Taoist priest. He drew talismans and posted them around her apartment. They burned to ash overnight. Nothing worked. The paper servant had chosen her, and it would not let go. On the 49th day after her grandmother's funeral, the traditional end of the mourning period, Wei Jing disappeared. Her apartment was found locked from the inside. Her phone was on the nightstand. Her keys were in the bowl by the door. Everything was in perfect order, cleaner than it had ever been, but Wei Jing was gone. The only trace of her was a small pile of ash on the floor and a piece of paper under her pillow. On it, written in ash, were 3 characters. "She has come." Wei Jing's grandmother had always wanted a granddaughter to keep her company. Now, in the afterlife, she has one. They say the paper offerings we burn for the dead are transformed in the next world. They become real, solid, eternal. If that is true, then somewhere in the realm of the dead, there is a mansion filled with paper servants, paper cars, paper money. And now, a living woman who has been transformed into something else, a servant for eternity. So remember this. The next time you attend a Chinese funeral, the next time you see the paper offerings waiting to be burned, do not look them in the eye. Do not create a connection, because the dead are always hungry for company, and the paper servants are always looking for someone to serve.